What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a custom Marvel Legends. And today we're going to be taking a look at how I repainted this Spider-Man Unlimited to make him a little bit more show accurate. So I started off with the base body from Marvel Legends, and I think this guy had really good sculpt detail, and I like the base body, but that paint is just severely lacking straight out of the box. It just looks way too bland, and it doesn't match the cell shading at all from the show. Also, that head sculpt I really didn't like, so I went ahead and tried on some different heads, and I ended up thinking this one from, I think it's the Spider Shot. This one looked pretty good on this body, and the reds seem to match pretty well in person. They're a little bit off on camera, but in person they match super well. So I wanted to try to use this head sculpt and just give him some new eyes. To redo the eyes, I'm just going to use a bit of epoxy sculpt. This stuff is a two-part epoxy you just mix up, and once it's all mixed together, you can put it on and it'll dry in 24 hours. So I just put on a really thin layer and went with my X-Acto knife and tried to shape up the eyes to match the original head. It took a few attempts, so I didn't get much video, but with the epoxy sculpt, once it dries, it's still pretty easy to trim up with an X-Acto knife. So it just went through a lot of trimming to get it to the shape I like and to get both sides to match pretty well. Once I finished that, I sanded it down and put a coat of cold white on it. And then I was going to use this flat yellow to try to match the kind of yellowish white he has from the show. His eyes aren't completely white in the show, so I wanted to get that matched as close as possible. But while I was working on the head sculpt, I matte coated him with Mr. Super Clear. And then I'm going to go through and repaint all of the blue parts with this Vallejo airbrush black paint. But that matte coat, once you spray that on there, it really helps out a lot. So if you really don't want to do a full repaint, I think just doing that, it helps the overall look of this action figure. So even if you just wanted to do that, I think that helps out a lot. But once I got that black put on, you can see this is what it looks like now. And here's the head after I got a couple of coats of white on there. White paint's really annoying to try to paint on, so I suggest just doing super light coats and do like 3 or 4 of them, and you'll get a nice finish in the end. But this is what I was at so far, and I think I end up trimming this up a little bit more even after this. So the eyes were just, the eyes were kind of complicated to do, but not too bad. Just a lot of extra going back and forth trying to get them to the right shape. So once that black has set for a while, I went through and started doing the blue highlights and also sketching out where I was gonna paint the black on his mask. I've never tried to do highlights on a figure before, so this was a new process for me, and it was really helpful to look at pictures on Instagram and stuff of how other people have done this before, and just trying to follow the shape of those muscles. You can see where the muscle sculpts are. I just hit the very tips of them with a little bit of blue, and here's one of the Instagram posts I used for reference, and this one looked really good, and that's pretty much what I wanted on mine, so I just copied him kind of for most of this. But here's the blues I was using. You don't have to use these, you can just use any light blue you want. I just tried to use what I had. I didn't want to go back to the store and buy any new paints just for this, so I just tried to mix these two. It was mostly the dark blue with a little bit of light blue, but you can mess with the ratios and mess with whatever blue you want. So here's where I was at so far in the front, and originally this was pretty messy because I wasn't too worried about like putting blue where it shouldn't be right now, because with the background of the color or the base color being black, it's really easy to go back and touch up later. So I was just being really sloppy with it and kind of slapping it on all the tips of the muscles and just trying to get a whole feel for what I really want to go for here. I've seen people do very little, and I've seen people do a whole lot. And so I was trying to just figure out what I liked and what I was capable of doing. So I was just slapping on blue pretty much anywhere that I could see a muscle sculpt was getting a little bit of blue. So for the shading on the face, I used a pencil to kind of sketch out where I wanted that shading to go, because a pencil easily erases off of all this plastic. And of course the camera is super blurry, so sorry about that. But so it just was me taking some black paint and going around and trying to follow my outline of the pencil with the black. I think this took like 1 or 2 coats, and you do really need to be careful here though, so you don't go over your lines and paint the red, because it is kind of hard to get black off of something. Even if you use you could use isopropyl alcohol, like I would try 70%, something a little bit lower, and you can clean it up a little bit, but still just be really careful here because you don't want to go over on that red. Here's why I ended up with the head. I don't know where the video went for the eyes, so I'll try to explain what I did with them. I used a mixture of that white and yellow I showed earlier, and towards the corner by his nose, it was mostly white, and then I would just mix in a little bit more yellow and do another thin coat further out until I got to the other side, like the other tip, the furthest tip away from his nose, and at that point it was just really thin yellow. So you can kind of tell what I was doing here, but if you keep it really watered down and you do really thin layers, you can do a gradient effect like this, and it should blend together when it's wet. But also I went through and the red looked a little bit dull after I had done so many clear coats and after I've highlighted this blue. So I decided I want to do a little bit of touch up on the red and kind of hit some of the muscles on the red parts. It's not super noticeable in person, but on the logo it did help out a lot. So I'm using a mixture of these two. This color from Citadel matches the base plastic really well. So I just added a little bit of red, red paint from Army Painter into that and help bring it up a little bit. So mostly here I was just repainting the logo. I wanted the logo to really pop, and I wasn't too worried about getting the muscles. Like I said, the red isn't that much different from the base color, but it does help the logo pop a lot more after it had, since the logo's surrounded by black, it really makes it seem a lot duller than it really is. So I wanted to make sure to get that a little bit more highlighted, and then just kind of hit the muscles here or there, wherever I wanted to add a little bit of highlight. So you can see the center of the logo already looks so much better than the outside, so I was really happy with how that was turning out. But here he is all put together. I put a couple of coats of clear coat on him. I just really didn't want to mess up this paint job after I'd spent so long on it. But I really like how he turned out. I think the face shadowing could have been done a little bit better. It would look a lot cooler if it was kind of blended into the red, so it actually looked like shadowing. But I'm still really happy with how it turned out, and it does match the animation a lot. And this head sculpt is so much better than the one that came on him. That one was just too big and round. I just didn't like the whole shape of it at all. It kind of looks like that one Ben Reilly Spider-Man costume that came out. The head just looks goofy when it's that round. I really like this spider shot head. I think it's a perfect shape for him. Even highlighted the butt. But here's his, you can see the inside. I did do some highlighting here as well. But that's where you get the most rub if you push it too hard. But really, it's not even that much. All things considered, without doing any sanding or anything, it's turning out really well, and it's not chipping at all, pretty much. But just be careful in those areas where it could chip, but everywhere else seems pretty clean. So I was really happy with that, because I really hate prepping these guys. But in these joints, you can see the paint, of course, does peel, but since that base plastic is such a dark blue, it's not really noticeable when you get them posed up. It almost looks black. So I was just going to glue the cape back on, but I really wanted everything to match the show as best as possible, and so I decided that I was going to have to repaint this as well. To get the cape off also, I just used a blow dryer and heated it up a lot, and you can just peel it away. It wasn't too difficult to get off. I did have to trim the peg away a little bit to get it back on, but to get it off wasn't bad at all. So for the cape, I did a really light coat of this light blue on the back here, and this took forever, but it definitely helps those web lines stand out, and it's really hard to even see that detail whenever it's just all one base color, but this helps bring those out a lot. So after I got all the blue painted on, I decided I probably needed to go ahead and add a little bit of yellow to this to make it match the show even better. So I was going to do a couple of really light yellow washes. So I mixed that yellow and white together, mixed in a ton of water, just so much water, and then just did one coat over the entire cape. Trying to get it all in the grooves and everything, and trying to get one big coat over everything. And you can see this is really messy, so make sure to put some paper towels, or have some paper towels near you and ready for whenever this goes everywhere. But I was just making sure I spread that paint everywhere on it and get one big coat on everything. Once I got one solid coat over the whole thing, I just used a paper towel to dab away all the excess paint and tried to make sure to get all of it off that I could, because I didn't want it to stand out more in some places than others. So I was just trying to go around and get all of the paint off I can. But once I got the paper towel, as much as I could off with the paper towel, I came back with a dry paintbrush and just used that to clean up all of these areas that the paper towel wasn't able to reach. But once I got that all all the excess paint off, here's what it looked like. It's not that different, but I did do about 2 more coats of this yellow wash, and it did end up standing out a lot, and it looks pretty good. I think I could do it better if I just repainted it completely, but this worked for me, and it's the back, so I wasn't too worried about it. But here's what he looks like compared to my other animated series Spider-Man. I don't understand why they didn't use the same body for all these guys, but I really do like this Spider-Man limited body, and I think he looks great. He has a really good silhouette, and the posing is fine, but I do really like the silhouette, and just standing on the shelf, he looks amazing. But you can see that cape did help out a little bit, and the eyes, I forgot to mention too, I did do a gloss coat on top of those. The paint just wasn't holding very well on it, so I wanted to give it some extra durability. But here he is all posed up. Like I said, there wasn't too much chipping on this guy, so I'm really happy about that. For beginners, I think this is a really good project to work on because the base body is just so plain to begin with, so any changes you make is gonna make it look a lot better. So if you're worried about painting up action figures or anything like that, I think this guy would be really good to grab on clearance sometime and give a good paint job to. And it was really fun to work on, and I'm really excited to actually have him on the shelf looking like how he does in the show. I wasn't originally going to pick this guy up, but after this, I'm really glad I did. But that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you think of him in the comments. Let me know what you want to see next, and make sure you're following me over on Instagram. You're subscribed to me here, and follow me over on TikTok, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.